And we say, what's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard, Ballard Sports Media, coming at you with our weekly call-in show. You can catch us Sundays at 10 o'clock Eastern Time. I know BVD is currently live, so I apologize to BVD, but I wanted to be on time for maybe some of the folks on Facebook, and um, it's just right to be on time. You show up to work on time, make it to school on time. You better do YouTube on time as well. But we got a couple different topics, but we're going to do calls tonight. Of course, for the call in show, we'll drop the link live on Facebook, live on YouTube for tonight's show. And we'll be happy to get you guys on. But as you can see by the title, most likely bust 2023 rookie quarterback class and the Dabo Swinney and Ryan Day debate. So I gotta pull up their records, by the way. I gotta look at that. But we were kind of talking on Twisted Rooster. Um we were talking on his show the other night, and we talked about Dabo Swinney and Ryan Day, and we talked about, who's a better head coach. First off, who's a better program? All time, I think it's pretty close, but I mean, when you look at these coaches, you have Dabo Swinney with 2 national titles, Ryan Day with 1 title appearance. What's up, Joey? Good to see you. So I guess let's dive into this. Dabo Swinney versus Ryan Day. Who is the better head coach? Dabo Swinney was hired in 2009 and has had a overall head coaching record of 161-39 within, I guess, do the math, 13 seasons, 14 seasons. Meanwhile, within within 2, 3, 4 seasons of Ohio State, Ryan Day is 45-6. However, he is 2-3 in bowl games and 1-3 in the college football playoff. He's got 2 Big Ten titles. He's won the East 3 times. Whereas Dabo, being a longer tenured coach, has 2 national titles, 8 ACC titles, has won the division 10 times, has won awards such as the AP College Football Coach of the Year in 2015, Walter Camp Coach of the Year 2015, Home Depot Coach of the Year 2015. What a season it was for the Clemson Tigers. 3-time Paul Bear Bryant Award winner. I think I'm just going to go ahead and say this. When you call in tonight, I want your take on this. I think the better coach now, I don't know. It's tough to say. But overall, as a head coach, there's no denying what Dabo Swinney has done with Clemson. Now, we joke on here about Dabo being a crybaby, going around and complaining all the time, but you can't deny he is a great human being, loves the Lord, and he's a great head coach too. Now, today as a head coach, let me go ahead and drop the StreamYard link too, by the way. We'll take your calls. What's up, Chess? It's good to see you in here, bro. We got Joey Foster as well. What was I saying? Okay. Dabo Swinney as a head coach is phenomenal. Ryan Day as a head coach, I would not call him phenomenal. I would call him, he's great. He's good. I think, in my opinion, I would go Dabo Swinney. And this only came up because we were talking about it on Twisted Rooster stream. I didn't see this in an article or anything, But I just thought it would be a good topic of conversation tonight to talk about and just have some discussion. So, with that being said, we're going to take our first call, and Joey is on. What's
Hey,
up, Joey?
hey, what's going on, Ballard?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. I tell you, I agree with you. I think Dabo has done more with less. Okay, because Ohio State gets the best talent, obviously. I mean, they're every one of their classes is extremely good. Now, I'm not saying that Clemson gets bad classes by any means, but they don't have the talent that they have at Ohio State on a consistent
Right.
basis, year in and year out. And Ryan Day has just been a flop. And the last 2 years, lost to Michigan. So and this year, I think the dark horse in the Big Ten is Penn State. So I don't think that Ohio State will win the Big Ten again this year, and that may be the end of Brian Day's tenure at Ohio State, in my opinion. So I think Dabo's done a lot more myself. So I would take Dabo over Ryan Day anytime.
That's my personal opinion too. I mean, here's the thing about Ryan Day, and I made a video weeks back where I had saw news that Ryan Day is on a hot seat. Now it's
Yeah.
something that's not being talked about enough, but I would agree that I think this is a make or break year where he doesn't have to necessarily win a playoff game, but if he can't beat Michigan, let alone Penn State could sneak up. If he doesn't win the division and win the Big Ten, who knows, what his future looks like.
And you threw out the stats there and said, okay, Ryan Day's been at Ohio State this many years. He's been there this many years. Dabo's been there, what, 13 years, right?
Right.
But let's just look at the last 7 years. Let's just look at the last 7 years and compare the two coaches. You know, it's obvious Dabo's a better coach, even if you just look at the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So I just think that I think Dabo's obviously the better coach. Getting, you know, mind you, he gets his fair share of 4 and 5 star talent, but nothing like Ohio State gets. And Ohio State should be a dominant team in the Big Ten, like Alabama and Georgia are in the SEC. It should be Ohio State and Michigan every year in the Big Ten. But Ohio State, I just don't. I mean, he's not no Urban Meyer, that's for sure. Ryan Day's no Urban Meyer, so I just think that I think Dabo would have my vote there. What was your other question? Like 2023 rookie quarterback class?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just figured with the draft wrapping up, you got CJ Stroud, you got Bryce Young, Will Levis, and I figured if people had their thoughts on that, they could come on and talk about these quarterbacks because I think it's a loaded class that we have in the draft.
yeah. I'm not an NFL guy. I could care less about NFL. I really I I don't watch NFL football. Occasionally, I will. Like for instance, if I when I watch NFL football, it's got to be for a reason that I want to watch a game. So, like maybe if Seattle is playing on TV that I can pick up around here, I'll watch it because Geno Smith's a quarterback or something. I might watch it for that reason. Not that I'm rooting for Seattle or anything, but I'm rooting for Geno, right?
Yeah.
So, that's my extent of NFL knowledge. So I wouldn't be one to comment on any of those, but yeah, the anyway, I wanted to come in and just say hi to you. I hadn't come on your show. I think it's the first time I've ever been on your show. So
I think you've been on before, but I haven't seen you on camera on here. That's pretty cool.
yeah, it's been well. I'm at my wife's on house right now, and
Okay.
so I have like this makeshift. I don't have my mic set up like normal. It's not on my arm, so I'm just like holding it. So, but that's okay. We may do. So, but anyway, I just wanted to come on. I'd let you get to somebody else calling in and stuff and things. But appreciate you having me on, Ballard. You have a great night.
You too, Joey. Love you, brother. Thank you.
Love you, man.
Joey Foster checking in with us tonight, and well, let's do this one. Um, Again, our topic, if you want to call in, use the StreamYard link. We really would appreciate it. Would you call-ins on Sunday night. I know we got a good crowd. What's up, Gamecock Chuck? How you doing, brother? Good to see you, man. And we got let's get some people in here. I dropped the StreamYard link, and we'll take calls. And again, Dabo Sweeney versus Ryan Day. Who's the better coach? Um, Dabo has, had his number of national titles, two of them. Won both of them against Alabama. Ryan Day gets to the playoffs, wins one of three games that he was in. So what's he 1-2 in the playoffs? It's an interesting debate because for a while it's so interesting that Dabo Sweeney was the number two coach in college football. Then all of a sudden comes Kirby Smart in Georgia, but the Clemson versus Ohio State debate, and there's been a little bit of talk, not a whole lot this offseason, about Ryan Day possibly being on a hot seat. I don't know about that. I don't think he should be. And with that, we bring on Mayhem Matthew. What's up, bro?
What's up? What's up? I just wanted to comment on Dabo Sweeney versus Ryan Day. Well, it's really not comparable whenever you talk about. I mean, even if you look at Dabo's versus Ryan Day's first 4 years, right? Because I've
Right.
heard people talk about that and compare. Well, you got to compare Ryan Day's first 4 years and Dabo's first 4 years. Okay, the first 4 years of Dabo, before Dabo Sweeney was the head coach at Clemson, and this is going to shock you, right? Um, their last 10-win season before Dabo got there was 1990. Okay. Uh, they have not had a 10-win season since then. Dabo Sweeney comes in, first 4 years, has two 10-win seasons. And that first 10-win season, he has not had anything less than a 10-win season since then. So, Ryan Day, let's look at Ryan Day's first 4 years. You can say that Ryan Day has made that Ohio State program a little bit worse. Yes, I know they were a field goal away from winning a national championship. I understand that. But Urban Meyer was 7-0 versus Michigan. Ryan Day comes in with pretty much a national championship caliber team, cannot win the big one. I don't care if you're a field goal away or if you're 100 points away, you still lost. And you couldn't win. And you lose to Michigan 2 times in a row. So, in my opinion, from whenever Urban Meyer had Ohio State and whenever Ryan Day has now had um, Ohio State, you can say that it slightly declined. Slightly. I'm not saying that they are all the way declined. I did say that, but very slightly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, um, Ohio State has, and here's the thing: I think both programs have taken steps back since. Um, well, Clemson has taken definite steps back since Trevor Lawrence left, and
Well, here's the thing, right?
yeah,
15-0. 15-0. You can't get any better than that. So anything worse than that is a step back. Wouldn't you agree?
of course, at
And
any point.
Brent Venables goes away. You have to make another hire. Brent Venables has been in that Clemson program for years. So Dabo Sweeney had to find his guy. Obviously it didn't work with Brandon Streeter or who's the new defense coordinator.
What
Obviously, huh?
I think it's Wes Goodwin. Is that who you're thinking of?
Yeah, so the offensive coordinator obviously didn't work out. After the guy went to take the role at Virginia, right? That head coach. So
Yeah.
basically, what I'm saying is, to make a long story short, right? Um, when's the last time Dabo had to make them changes? right?
Been a while.
It's been a while. So now I feel like he has the right tools. I think he made an amazing hire with Garrett Riley. You have Cade Klubnik coming back. He's the assumed starter. You got an excellent defense. Whether you want to say, okay, yeah, obviously a lot of guys went into the in the draft. But you still gonna have an excellent defense. Still gonna have what I think a better offensive line than you had last year. We'll see, right? We'll see. But the whole Ryan Davis Dabo Swinney thing is kind of silly because, like I said before, Ryan Day's still wet behind the ears. Dabo is not. Listen, did you know? Here's a fun fact. In Clemson, this is before Dabo Swinney got there. Clemson had only had like 7 10-win seasons in their whole school program. Dabo gets there, he has more than 7 10-win programs, and I believe he has more than 7 10-win programs in a row. So I believe that Dabo Swinney was in a different situation coming into Clemson than Ryan Day was. Ryan Day was literally handed the best team that he could have possibly gotten as a head coach. And Dabo Swinney was handed not so good.
Yeah.
I think Dabo Swinney, if he was stupid enough to go to Ohio State instead of Ryan Day, let's just say that, I believe Dabo Swinney would have already had a national title. And I know that's a big take right there, but Dabo's clearly better, man. I don't care if he's been coaching for 15 years, 1 year, 100 years. Dabo Swinney is a better head coach than Ryan Day.
Here's my take on the situation. I guess I kind of shared some of it, but I fully agree with you that Dabo is a better head coach. I think 2 national titles speaks for itself, both against Alabama and Nick Saban. I mean, you don't get better than beating the best. I mean, he's beat Nick Saban twice. Ryan Day 0-1 against Nick Saban. He's like 1-3 in playoff games. Whereas Dabo Swinney has a tumultuous, you know, amazing record in the CFP. Um, I do think it's a good debate topic because it's come up, and I think it came up on Rooster Stream the other night, and I thought, okay, maybe it'll be a good conversation starter for tonight's show. Um, I mean, for this debate, here's the thing: Ryan Day is entering this season. I said this in a video, and I don't know if you watched it, but I had saw something where he was possibly on a hot seat. I don't think he's on a hot seat yet, but I think it's getting warm, and it's a make or break year for him, especially trying to get to the Big Ten title. Because this whole we lose one game and don't win our division, we'll still get in the playoff. That crap's not going to fly. So Ryan Day is on the edge of his seat trying to do something amazing with the Buckeye program. And everything he's got to replace this year, I don't think he can really do anything. I got Penn State, if not them, Michigan. But I like a team like Penn State to probably win the East, possibly even the Big Ten as a whole. I do like Clemson. Clemson could possibly get back into the college football playoff this year, and it wouldn't surprise me because I think they finally got their quarterback situation figured out. They got a lot coming back on defense. They got a lot of young guys stepping up that look really good in the spring game. Got some receivers. Man, this whole thing about Ryan Day, he's in a position where it's very hard to find an Ohio State coach in that position because Ohio State's a really good program.
Well, you and listen, Ohio State because he's only been head coach there for 4 years.
Right.
In those 4 years, we all thought that Ryan Day's year was this year. Obviously, it wasn't. And you can say they were a field goal away, right?
Yeah.
But why? I think we Georgia outscored them 18-3 in
See,
that
and
fourth.
that's another thing. That's another thing too, because Ohio State was up big in that Peach Bowl. When's the last time you saw that for Dabo where he choked away a big lead? Last
Exactly.
time I checked, he was up big on Alabama and just kept pulling away. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you can't have that for a head coach. I mean, it's going to happen on occasion, but he's had even the games against Michigan. I don't know if they were necessarily up at half, but maybe they score first or they might get a little run going. The pressure gets to Ohio State and Ryan Day, and he can't do anything about it.
See, I'll say this, right? That all right. Let's talk about the COVID year. Whenever this is the last time Ryan Day versus Dabo Swinney, Clemson versus Ohio State was the COVID year, the playoffs, right?
Yeah,
And then eventually Ohio State faced Alabama, and Bama became 2020 national champions, right? The COVID year.
yeah,
So Clemson, I'm talking about leading up to this game, right? Clemson had played a grand total of 10 games, right? Leading
yeah,
up to this game. Remember, Ohio State played a 5-game season in the regular season, and then they weren't. See, the Big Ten wasn't going to allow Ohio State because they had a 6-game minimum. They wasn't going to allow Ohio State to make the Big Ten championship, but they had to overturn that rule. Ohio State then went on to win the Big Ten, so they were 6-0, right, heading into that playoff game versus Clemson. Clemson was I believe 9-1 with the ACC title, right?
yeah,
So basically, what I'm telling you is that is a 4-game difference, right?
yes,
4-game difference. That is almost as many games as Ohio State played in their own regular season. So, yes, I do believe a 4-game difference. A lot can happen in 4 games. A lot can happen in 1 game, right?
yeah,
Now, if it was just a 1 or 2 game difference, I really wouldn't be talking about this. It's a 4-game difference, man. 4.
yeah,
And I'm not even talking about the COVID situation because, well, every team had the COVID situation. So I'm not even going to talk about that. But what I am talking about is a 4-game difference. Of course, Ohio State would probably be in a better position to win. And guess what? If Ohio State did not win that game versus Clemson, that would be terrible.
yeah,
If you have 4 less games that you played and you can't get up for and you're an elite, you say you're an elite program and you're facing somebody that's played 10 games and you can't get up and beat them, no. I
yeah,
mean, you should be fired on the spot. I mean, you were supposed to beat them that year, you know. I'm not a Clemson fan and I'm not an Ohio State fan. So I'm neutral on this. I'm giving my neutral take on this.
yeah,
4 games that you didn't play and Clemson did play. That's a big factor heading into that game. And it was like 49-28. They still scored 28 points on you. So yeah, you can count it. You can say whoop de doo. Ryan Day has a big win over Dabo Swinney. Yes, clap your hands. But then they got totally humiliated by the Crimson Tide, so couldn't finish the job there. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Alabama had played 10 or 11 games leading up to that game as well, and they had and Ohio State man had only played one more game, which it would be 7 games. So all I'm saying is, COVID year, people kind of, whenever you talk about the COVID year, that's why you don't hear Bama fans really screaming to their lungs about winning the 2020 national championship. Yes, y'all won. Kudos to y'all. If you want to brag about it, right?
Yeah.
But that's why you really don't hear a whole lot of things about that COVID year, because it was just a wonky year, right?
Yeah.
But yes, listen, and before I get any comments down in the comment section, listen, yes, Alabama fans, if y'all want to scream to the top of your lungs, fine, y'all won. Y'all are not fake. See, what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to stand up here and say y'all are fake national champions or put an asterisk right there. Y'all are the national champions. Y'all don't need an asterisk. You know, y'all are the clear national champions of 2020, and I think even if we played a full regular season, that probably would have still been the outcome. But all I'm trying to say is, Dabo Sweeney, and you bring up the rankings, like in recruiting, right? And technically,
I actually want to look at this year's upcoming classes and see where they are. But even like last year, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but um, Ryan Day has been like I feel like, yes, in a way Ryan Day has emerged, but Dabo Sweeney in recruiting has kind of fallen back a little bit, hasn't he?
who?
Dabo.
I mean, well, we're looking at recruiting rankings here in what, April?
Yeah.
That's a long ways to go. At one point, South Carolina fans were excited over a number 6 ranking, and look how they've fallen, right?
So let's look
It's still
2024 today.
it's a still a very long way. Still got several months, but
Yeah.
what I am going to say is this: Dabo Sweeney had 1 year where he was outside the top 10. Other than that, he's always been top 10. He had several top 5 classes, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd say this: Dabo's done really well in recruiting. Now, I heard somebody tell me this, right? And I want to get your take on this, right? Because this is a good question to ask. And do you believe coaching has nothing to do with recruiting, right? You would agree with?
Absolutely has something to do with recruiting.
Well, as far as, like, for example, like, this year Missouri, right? Technically, that coach out coached Kirby Smart this year, right?
Yeah.
So whenever you talk, I mean, I think it has something to do with recruiting. Coaching does have something to do with recruiting, but I was told that it doesn't. But as far as X's and O's goes, yes, coaching has nothing to do with recruiting. I want to get your take on it.
I think that great big time recruits, I think it depends on what they want. Like, you know, if you want to go win a national title, you're going to go to Alabama. If you want to claim that you're elite, you're going to go to Georgia. I'm just kidding. Georgia's elite. I know they are. If you want to win a national title, you go to Georgia, you go to Alabama. Why you go to Ohio State if you want to win a title is beyond me. Clemson, they've kind of fallen off. They've kind of faded a little bit, but I still think they could do it. Um, you know, recruiting is, and I say it all the time, it's the bloodline, the life blood, or however you want to put it. It drives college football. Recruiting is important, and um, it I don't know. Compare these two coaches down here. Compare their recruiting in the recent years, and who's done more with what they've had, or if I mean, like you said, Dabo Swinney has done less with more,
No,
or done more with less,
yeah, exactly.
and I guess I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but I think Dabo has been a more proven head coach.
I would agree with that 100%. And
It
this
did.
is and this whole conversation. I'm gonna tell you this whole entire debate because I said if you go back and watch the live, or you can go and watch my channel. I clipped it out for you, so it'll be easier. But I pretty much stated that I had Dabo Swinney ranked number 3 coming into 2023. Right now,
Yeah.
you can debate. Well, John, Jim, was it Harbaugh? Um, you can debate that Harbaugh is number 3 and Dabo's number 4, but you got to put Dabo somewhere in that top 5. Somewhere. I mean, you can
He has to be.
there. And then whenever I said that, then listen, if y'all not subscribed to Twisted Rooster, go subscribe to him. He creates some great content. But he's my man. But that's whenever he got started, and he says, "Well, Dabo's not even top 10." And that was just ridiculous. Come on now. I know you're a South Carolina fan. I understand that. I get the rivalry. I get that you don't like Dabo for whatever reasons. But if I'll ask this question. Let's just say Dabo came up to the podium and said, "I'm looking for a new college school to go to," right? Who, besides Bama and besides Georgia, who would not take Dabo Swinney as the head coach right now? Or at least
Anyone would.
consider it. How about that?
Oh, everyone would try to consider it. I mean, Georgia's not going to get rid of Kirby. Alabama's not going to get rid of Nick Saban. But outside of that, I mean, even if in this conversation and debate between Swinney and Day, Ohio State, don't you think they'd give up Ryan Day for Dabo Swinney in a heartbeat? Could you
Easily,
imagine
easily,
Ohio State?
easily. Dabo Swinney
Dude,
losing to Michigan year in and year out. This is back to back.
I missed what you just said. I'm sorry.
I said Dabo ain't losing to Michigan year in and year out.
Right. Yeah.
This Ryan Day loses to Michigan 2 years in a row. You have C.J. Stroud, Jackson Smith Najigba. You have Marvin Harrison Jr. You have them boys. You have on the offensive line. You have Paris Johnson Jr. You have dudes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have dudes on the defense as well. I'm not an Ohio State fan. I'm just telling you, obviously who got drafted out of Ohio State. And, you had what? 3 Ohio State guys go in the first round. If I'm not, maybe 2, 3, something like that. I
Yeah.
know you had Paris Johnson Jr. in the first round. And then obviously you have C.J. Stroud in the first round. I'm not sure where Jackson Smith went, but I'm pretty sure he was the first round. Maybe pretty sure he was. But if he wasn't, he was definitely second round, very high second round. But dude, you had guys. And I'm probably not even naming all the guys that they had, right? So you're doing less with more. And if Dabo was the head coach, and it's really hard to say. I know what the argument is. Listen, I understand. I know what the argument is. Well, the ACC's crap. Well, okay. The ACC wasn't always crap. It wasn't always like that. From the span of the 2010 to the 2018, them 8 year span, I wouldn't say the ACC was total crap. I wouldn't say that. You could make a case where the ACC was second, uh, the second best conference. You can make that case back then. Now, I would say they're fourth best, maybe, right? They've kind of fallen off. And I've talked about this before. Right now, the SEC's on top. They've been on top for the last 20 years, right?
Yeah.
There's going to come a time, maybe in the next 10 years or 20 years, whenever it is, there's going to come a time where the SEC is going to take a slight step back. And that kills me to say that because I am an SEC homer. I love SEC. I want SEC to win for the next 100 years. But there's going to become a time where USC is good again. They're already making their way back to the top, right?
Right.
There's going to come a time where Miami becomes good. At some point in time, they will. There's going to become a time where Nebraska, they have Matt Rule. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but eventually they're going to be up there in the ranks, right?
Yes.
Eventually, these blue blood programs that we talk about, Penn State, you just talked about them winning the Big Ten. If they win the Big Ten, you can go ahead and pencil them down for a Final Four spot, pretty much. Because all I'm saying is these programs are going to become elite. They're not so far away that they can't get back on top, right?
Yeah.
And it pains me to say that because I'm one of the best. I will argue it down anything about the SEC. I'm the SEC homer, right? And we've had 17 years in a row where SEC dominated the draft.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If you have anybody in the back, then just let me know. I'll get off. But
Nah, you're good for right now. This is a very intellectual conversation that we're having. I just the SEC has dominated football. It's dominated the draft. As far as the coaching goes, I mean, Dabo Swinney has done a lot more with less, and has all the numbers to show why he's a better head coach than Ryan Day. I mean, everything. I agree with everything you have said tonight so far, and um, you know, keep in touch with me. Obviously, I know you love to call me all the time and everything. We'll figure out some good stuff for you guys on the Touchdown Tuesdays this week. Don't forget, we simulcast to both of our channels. Go subscribe to Mayhem Matthew and Needham Dogs. And anything else you got tonight?
yeah, I just want to say, I think your count right now is 954. Whenever I clicked the link, anyways, could have went up. But listen, get this guy to 1,000. Very close to it. It would be a really, I think I subscribed to you whenever you was. I remember the 700 special, and I've been subscribed to you way before that. So I'll say that I was subscribed to Ballard Sports Media around the 550 mark, something like that. So I've seen, the 700 special. I've seen when you hit 800, 900. Let's get this man to 1,000 subs. That would be so cool to see somebody go from, half of 1,000, all the way to 1,000. And see, Ballard puts in really good work on this channel, so that's all I really got. But thank you for letting me come on.
Yeah, always, Mayhem. You're always welcome here, brother.
Yes, sir.
Peace. All right. We don't have anyone in the back room. I'm not ready to end this though. I still want to talk about Dabo Swinney versus Ryan Day. I want your thoughts. I see X Wing is in here. We got a call here from. I was just fixing to get to you in the comments. Waylon is on here. What's up?
Hey, Chris, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. How's everything going tonight?
Everything's going good. Do you have any takes on this Dabo Swinney versus Ryan Day? Who you think is a better head coach?
Well, I have to go with Dabo. He's got, look how many ACC championships he has. Nobody has won as many ACC or as many championships like Dabo has in ACC. There's only one team that compares to that, and that's Alabama.
Yeah.
People need to go back and do their history and look, but he's got 2 national championships, and who are they against? Alabama. So I'm gonna have to put Dabo because he's a hometown guy here in Alabama. I got to root for Dabo, Chris.
Yeah, I pull for Dabo, and I joke because I got family members that are Clemson fans, so I might slip up and say, "Oh, I hate Clemson. I hope they lose their games." But truly, I mean, I like Dabo as a human being. He's a godly man, and he's got a good heart, good character, and you just love the guy. And kind of what um, Matthew was saying, I mean, he's a better coach than Ryan Day. Ryan Day, if you look at him, nothing wrong with him necessarily as a coach, but he has made the playoffs and only won one game. Dabo's got 2 championships, has hardly ever choked. Ryan Day has choked against Michigan the past 2 years and choked it away against Georgia. He can't win the big one. So I mean, um, there's a little bit of a debate. I think I'm trying to remember where I saw this first. I think we were talking about it on Twisted Roosters the other night, and it kind of came up, and I had to get everyone's opinions over here on Ballard Sports Media. So here we are.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people dislike him. Well, they dislike him because he's a winner. I mean,
Yeah.
Coach Bryant was disliked, Gene was disliked, Dabo's disliked, Nick is disliked. So everybody, I guess, those saying used to go, everybody loves a winner. Now it seems like everybody hates a winner, Chris. I don't know.
Eventually, what do you think they're going to do to Kirby? Just saying.
Yeah.
He's up next.
He's up next, and there's a lot of debate about who would, replace Nick when he would retire. And I always said Dabo would come back to Alabama. And, it's probably, I've got an itching feeling. I got some friends that's pretty deep in the program there at Alabama. And probably Clemson and Florida State's going to be your next 2 teams to enter the SEC.
Clemson and Florida State?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I had one gentleman, he was a mentor of mine. He passed away a few months ago, and he was on the board of trustees. I knew for a long time. And he gave me a lot of, helpful insight. And they had, last summer, they had a meeting, and they were talking about, obviously, Coach Saban had discussed it with them, or somebody had discussed it, who would be Nick's predecessor when he would leave Alabama. And I'm going to tell you the 2 names that was in their conversation was Dabo Swinney and Kirby Smart. You can take that to the bank. That came straight from the board of trustees.
I don't doubt that, but one name that floats around that I've heard is like Mario Cristobal. I've never heard until now that Kirby Smart could be Nick's predecessor. I don't think Kirby's ever going to leave Georgia. I think he's born a dog and going to die a dog. And Now, here's the thing about Dabo and Clemson. Even though, yes, he loves the program. Yes, he's built up this family-like atmosphere, togetherness, love, all of that stuff is great. But the decline of Clemson the past few years, maybe he's starting to see, or maybe eventually he'll see that not that it's not the place for him, but what if there is a better opportunity for him in coaching at the University of Alabama?
Yeah, I agree with you. If Clemson was to come into the SEC, I think that would be the time. If Nick was ready to go, I think that would be the transitioning period where Dabo probably would come back to Alabama. If that ever happens, could Clemson compete? Could Florida State compete in the SEC? I don't know. I mean, they've Jimbo with one championship down there. Bobby Bowden left that program. A lot of people said he left it in shambles when he passed away. And he retired. I don't think so. I think the program was pretty well rock solid. I think Jimbo inherited a pretty good job at Florida State.
He did. He did. And he won a national title in a couple years. And I think the only time Florida State's ever really been in a bad position was at the very start of Mike Norvell a couple years ago and under Willie Taggart.
Probably so, but we'll see in the future. What happens. I got a feeling. I'm not trying to jump inside Coach Saban's head. I know nothing about what he's thinking, but I think he's after one more national championship, which would break Coach Bryant's record. He would have 7 at Alabama, and if he was to pull another SEC championship, probably if you win a Natty, you're going to win the SEC championship. Does he have some Heisman players on that team? I don't know. We hadn't saw him play yet. We hadn't saw anybody stand out. There's some great kids on that team that could probably compete for the Heisman Trophy when they start playing, but that's yet to be seen. That's when you start seeing the playing and what's going to happen. But I got a phone call from a friend of mine that was in the Red Elephant Club, and the Saturday before they done the A-Day, they do the Red Elephant. They do all the practice for the Red Elephant Club, and I was told after that practice that Nick Saban would go into the transfer portal to get a quarterback, and that's before the A-Day game. And this comes from guys that are way high up way above my pay raise. So obviously they knew something was going on. That's all I know to say. They knew something.
Yeah.
So
and he did it. He went and got Tyler Buckner, which makes the quarterback situation more interesting. I'm going to be honest. He's not going to give the job to Tyler Buckner just because he's a transfer with experience, very little experience at that. He's got to earn it. We got a 3-way race now. It was a 2-man race, but I think Jalen Milroe, Ty Simpson, now Tyler Buckner, and it makes things more interesting in Tuscaloosa.
Absolutely. I mean, if they would after another coach at Alabama, if Coach Saban retired, wouldn't you want to go after a coach that had 7 or 8 ACC championships and a couple of national championships? That's what Coach Moore would after. That's why he Saban was LSU when he was at LSU, because he was a winner.
Yeah.
And you want to hire a coach that don't have that strong a resume. I don't think Alabama's going to hire a coach that has a weak resume. I think they're going to go after somebody that's got their speech cemented and has had some championships and
Well, I'll tell you this much, it's Greg Byrne now. So Greg Byrne's our athletic director, and I'm sure he's going to be the athletic director for a long time pending nothing happens. But you think about this, he's going to go after someone. Now, they don't have to go and get 7 or 6 national championships like Nick Saban did, but I think he wants to go get a guy like a Dabo Swinney. You mentioned Kirby Smart. Like I said, I don't see him leaving Georgia, but if it's a guy like Dabo Swinney, I'm all for that. I think he wants to get a guy that's going to be consistent with 10 wins, being a bowl team every year, just with consistent winning football mentality is what Greg Byrne is looking for in the next Alabama head coach. That's what the whole university is looking for.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%. When Coach Moore sort of got sick, he put Coach Battle in there. Coach Battle played for Coach Bryant, and he was a head coach at Tennessee from 1970 to 76. I remember that well. And, those guys were Alabama through and through. I mean, they played at Alabama. They were assistant grads at Alabama, would be head coaches somewhere else. It's hard to say, is there somebody still there that is really hardcore? Paul Bear Bryant Jr., Coach Bryant's son. I don't know, it's, a lot of those guys, they've passed away, I think Alabama will get a proven coach. I mean, they'll get somebody with a correct resume. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's in good hands.
Oh, yes, it's in good hands. These younger guys have probably had a little chewing here and there from Coach Moore and Coach Battle's still alive. But he would probably have quite a bit of influence there. I'm sure they'd be calling him and asking him too. I'm pretty sure they would, and Coach Bryant's son also. But they'll get somebody in there. I mean, the ACC. Dabo he was a walk-on at Alabama. Coach Stallings gave him a scholarship as a walk-on. Then he was a grad assistant, a coach under Coach Stallings. He was taught. He was taught by the best, man. He was taught by the best.
Yeah, and like I said, I just think it's one of those things. If you had asked me a couple years ago, maybe go back 3 or 4 years when Clemson was winning national championships, not saying anything bad about how they are now. But if you had asked me a few years ago, is Dabo going to leave Clemson for Alabama? I would have said, with what he's doing at Clemson, probably not. But today, considering the decline, not major decline, but just a few steps back, he might be thinking, you know what? Maybe there's, like I just said, there's probably something better out there for him. Wink. And it's probably in Tuscaloosa. It might be his calling as a coach to, maybe spend some time where he went to school at his alma mater.
Oh yeah, his name's on the list. It's there, whether he take it or not. I mean, that's yet to be seen. But I saw today. Did you see where Coach Prime got Joaquez Robinson? He went out to Colorado. Did you see that, Joaquez Robinson?
Yes, I did see that actually.
That's sort of. I don't know. I was sort of a little disappointed when he left. I mean, I think he went into the transfer portal the day after the A-Day game, didn't he?
I think he did right after.
Yeah, and he was a 4 or 5-star defensive back. I mean, if he's leaving, if he sees there's more talent, I mean, you go back and look at his high school stuff. You ain't got to take it from my word. Go back and look at his high school film. You'll see what kind of athlete he was. If he left not thinking I'm not going to get to start, man, they must have some kids in there that can play in the secondary. I hope they do, because I'm going to say this as an Alabama fan. Last 5 years, the weakest part of the defense to me has been the secondary. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You just so many pass interference calls, balls that probably could have been intercepted, not turning around, looking at the ball. College football's changed. You got to read the wide receiver, but we was always taught you can't see the ball. What you gonna play? What are you doing?
I don't know.
I mean, you got to turn around and see where the ball's in the air at. I mean, to make adjustments. I don't know. I mean, maybe we've got some big time talent in the secondary. I hope so. That could turn. If the secondary was to step up and make some big plays, that's just going to pump up the rest of the defense, Chris.
It starts with Kool-Aid McKinstry this year. After that, gosh, I got to look, because we did lose quite a few guys like Eli Ricks and Jordan Battle. It does start in the secondary, because we've talked about this a couple weeks ago. We're in an air raid offense, passing game type of football now. You got to have guys in the secondary knock the ball down, play one-on-one, man-to-man. It's going to start there for Alabama's defense, and then that's going to help push the pass rush a little bit to be better at, playing and motivated. And I don't know. I just think that we'll we'll have some great guys see the field this fall, I think. And um, I still think the best is yet to come for Alabama. Now, let me ask you this. Would you say it's fair to say this? And I hate to bring it up as an Alabama fan, but we are closer to the end of the Saban era than we are the beginning, right? I mean, eventually he is going to hang it up and he's going to have to make that call on who he wants to replace him. We are closer to the end than we are the beginning, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt about it. You are. I mean, you're gonna have a lot of sick Alabama fans, I guess. I mean, he's dominated college football for just about 15 years. You can actually at Alabama plus the years he was at LSU, and I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's like Coach Bryant. Maybe he stays there to the last day. I mean, I don't know. Coach Bryant never left. I mean, he retired and then passed away within 1 month after he retired. I don't think Nick's quite in the health. He's got better health than what Coach Bryant did. But I remember all that well. But Nick has calmed down a lot. You don't see a lot of that screaming and crazy stuff on the sideline. When you get old, you can't do that, man. Runs your blood pressure up.
Right.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. There's got to be like I said last summer, they're already discussing it now. Like I said, that came straight from the horse's mouth. So the coaching, like I said, his predecessors done been discussed. Whether they get who they want, that's neither here nor there. But they're done discussing it, and I'm sure Nick has been in the discussions with them. I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it says a lot about the program and what Coach Saban has done that he gets a say in this. Um, P digits, if that ever happens, I might jump ship. He says Bill O'Brien is ready to step in for the Tide.
Oh Lord.
Oh God, no. We'll
I,
never make a bowl game.
Bill O'Brien will never be back at Alabama. I mean, Bill O'Brien was. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what's going to get on here. I can't. I'm not a coach. I don't have the ability to go down there. I don't have a resume I can put in to be an offensive coordinator at Alabama. So I really can't bash the guy. Was he the best offensive coordinator at Alabama I've ever saw? No.
Nope.
No. Was Pete Golding the best defensive coach at Alabama I've ever seen? No.
Ain't true.
But he was Pete Golding. Why I sort of hated to see Golding go was those kids liked him. He was a great recruiter. He could talk to those kids and get on their level. And when you lose that, you've lost a lot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, I really think, I mean, I may be wrong, but I think Coach Saban has sat down with them, and I think he's given them a time frame on what he's going to do. People don't want to hear this. They're going to say, you're crazy. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. But from that meeting last summer, I think he's done sit down. And like I said, you wouldn't be having that discussion if it wasn't going through his mind when he's ready to quit.
Right. Absolutely.
That's, you just got to take it. A lot of these Alabama fans don't want to hear it. They didn't want to hear that Tyler Buchner was coming in, or they didn't want to hear that Tyler Van Dyke was actually talked to by Alabama. Didn't come, but they talked to him. I was told that was an incredible source. And, Coach Saban told everybody in the press conference, when he looks in the transfer portal, he's looking for somebody in the transfer portal to boost this team.
Yeah.
And he basically told you in the meeting there, he's fixing to look at a quarterback transfer portal. They didn't want to hear it. Is Buchner going to start? I don't know. I don't really think so.
Doubt it.
But if Milroe goes out there and against Middle Tennessee State, that's not going to happen. But you got Texas a second game. He gets out there and goes to making a lot of mistakes, and Texas is red hot. You've got to pull him out and put a guy in there that, is sort of like Tua was, when Jalen was pulled and Tua came in. You know, Tua made one great pass and won a national championship, but everything else he done stunk.
Actually, that is true. As much I love Tua as a human being, great Christian man, has a lot of faith and character. He was not the best that Alabama's had at the quarterback position. I don't care what anybody said. Oh, but he introduced air raid offenses and he was left-handed. I don't care if he was two-handed. Okay, I don't care if he had only one arm. I don't care. He was injury prone is what his problem was, and quite frankly, I just think that I'd hate to base it off that, but sometimes you just have to do that.
Well, you got to, talking about Alabama's had a lot of great quarterbacks, and I remember that ran the wishbone. You had Richard Todd, you had Stedman Shealy, you had Terry Davis, you had Walter Lewis. I remember all those guys. Then you go back in the '60s, you had Joe Namath, you had Kenny Stabler, but they wasn't running the wishbone offense in the '60s. They didn't start that to 1971, just about. And I mean, you got to. I mean, I don't know, man. You got to be smart to play quarterback. Quarterback is the main man of the team. I mean, the middle linebackers, you coach of the defense, and your quarterback's the coach of the offense. I mean, I don't know. I'm just, I guess the kid is gonna come in there. All those. I'll say this, and I'll shut up. Those California kids, if you go back and look at them, Bryce, Najee Harris. Now you got Tyler Buckner. I think he was from San Diego. Tyler Buckner had about 5,000 yards and about 80-something touchdowns his junior year in high school.
Right.
5,000 yards and 89 touchdowns. Come on.
That's good.
I mean, let me say this. Georgia don't want to hear this. Alabama recruited him, and Georgia did too.
Tyler Buckner?
Yeah, you better go back and do your research. Alabama recruited him, and Georgia did too.
And he had a decision to make between two schools that have quarterback issues right now, trying to figure it all out. And Georgia is apparently the standard. Well, I guess he made his decision and said, I want to go to Alabama instead of Georgia. So, I mean, what does that tell you?
Well, yeah, his coach is there, his offensive coach that, was one of the biggest fans of him, got him recruited. Tommy Reese, and I mean, he was one of the main ones. He wasn't the only one, but I mean, he's going to step in there and he's going to know. I mean, I look at it like this. I told a guy a couple of days ago, Alabama is still going to run the same passing game as they had under Mike Locksley, Steve Sarkisian, and Lane Kiffin. Tommy Reese, I think, came in and is going to try to implement a running game. He's made Coach Saban bite, because I think he's telling him this: as big as the offensive line is, and as physical as they can be this year and nasty as they can be, if we can't run the ball this year, we're never going to run the football.
Right.
And you're not. I mean, people don't like me saying, I love Najee Harris. I mean, he was a great runner. I mean, I love him. I love him to death. Met him, but I never met Derrick Henry. But we haven't had a run over you back that could outrun you back, stiff arm you back, that could people feared since Derrick Henry.
True.
Defenses feared that man. They didn't want to hit that man. Go back and look at his highlights. I mean, they feared him because, he's 6'3", 250 pounds, run a 4.40. Good luck in trying to tackle him, I guess. Good luck. I mean, what's your opinion on the running backs? Do you think we've had a better running back since Derrick Henry, or have we fell off a little bit, or you think we've been as
yeah, look, I know we've had guys like Najee. We even had like Damian Harris and Josh Jacobs. They were great.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of them can compare to what Derrick Henry did for us. I think it's not in a bad way, but it has slowly declined a little bit in terms of the talent. Now, what's going to happen this year with the running backs? We'll see, because I know we got a deep class, but I I do agree with you in a certain way that it just hasn't been the same since we had Derrick Henry.
No, it hasn't quite been the same. But like you said, Josh Jacobs and Damian and all of those guys, they were Josh Jacobs was a power runner. A lot of people didn't give him credit, but I mean, he wasn't that big a guy, but I mean, he was built, to the hilt. But he was a good running back. I would probably put him next in line. And then Najee, I guess. But when you have a Heisman Trophy running back like Derrick Henry, he just couldn't be stopped. I mean, you give him a crack and he's gone, and you can't catch him as big as he is. I mean, you see those little bitty secondary guys that were fast trying to catch him. Couldn't anybody catch him, man?
Yeah.
It was sort of like Larry Zonka back in the 70s when I remember Larry playing for the Miami Dolphins. He was 6'3". He was a fullback. He was 6'3", 240 back then. Go back and look at Larry Zonka's highlights from the Miami Dolphins. And of course, football was played a lot different back then than what it is now. But I mean, he was just okay, here I come, and stop me if you can.
Yeah.
And they couldn't stop him. They couldn't nobody stop him, and yeah. Marcus Dupree out of Oklahoma, I remember him. If Marcus Dupree would have stayed at Oklahoma, he probably would have set more running back records than Bo Jackson and Herschel Walker back then. So a lot of people forgot about Marcus. I didn't forget about him. I remember him playing. He was from down here at Philadelphia, Mississippi was his hometown, just a spot in the road back then. Now they got a bunch of casinos and stuff down there. It's a big town, but I don't know, man. There's a lot to be. We got to, the season is, you got about 5 months to prepare, really. May, June, July, August. Really not 5 months. You really got 4 months because practice starts, in August. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I just think Buckner I think Buckner's walking there. Nick would not have gave him a scholarship if he didn't see something in him that we don't.
Absolutely. I think, Nick Saban, I trust him to make the right decision at every position on the field, but especially the quarterback situation, which we'll be keeping an eye on throughout the offseason. Anything else tonight, Waylon?
No, I was fixing to wrap it up. I was just fixing to tell you it's a good show. I'm glad you had me on here. You always do a good show, everybody in the chat. Go ahead and subscribe, support this guy's channel. Man, he's making big leaps and bounds here on YouTube. Got to get going, hit that like button. I love all y'all, Chris. I enjoyed it. I'll catch you again on down the road to good Lord's willing. Be safe, my friend. We'll talk again, okay?
All right. Roll Tide, buddy.
Bye.
See you on Touchdown Alabama Magazine. That's how I know Waylon, by the way. He calls into, in my own words, with Stephen M. Smith, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can catch it on Touchdown Alabama Magazine on YouTube. Go check that out. I'm going to get out of here. It doesn't look like we have any more calls in the back room. So we're going to wrap it up. I love you guys. Jesus loves you. He's got a great plan. Trust and believe that. We're going to try to keep working with this live stream schedule. Call-in shows every Sunday, Touchdown Tuesdays, and then we'll do a stream either Friday or Saturday night. Yeah, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up on your way out. I love y'all. Y'all have a good night. God bless. And as always,
roll down Tide.
Roll Tide, roll. We'll see you next time. Ballard Sports Media. Checking out. Peace.